Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Jantzen Animation Podcast. My name is Jonas Jantzen. I'm an animator, artist. I don't really know the exact title that I'm going by these days. It changes a lot. Sometimes I call myself an animator, sometimes I call myself an environment artist, sometimes I call myself a designer. It just kind of depends on what I'm doing in my personal work. Yeah, I think a lot of titles kind of fit. Anyways, I started a podcast. I've been working in the animation industry for about 10 years now. Like, doing 3D for 10 years, probably working in the animation industry for about 8. Like, I started getting paid for doing like 3D work when I was like 20. I started working on Netflix shows when I was around 22. I worked on Next Gen as a modeler, worked on Mind the 3 as lead environment modeler, and then I worked as a senior modeler on The Monkey King, which you can all find on Netflix. Most recently I worked on Barney's World, and now, I'm kind of at a dry spell. I've been looking for work for a little over a year now, and it's pretty discouraging, but I'm also kind of finding my own rhythm in what I'm doing with my own work. And that's kind of what this podcast and YouTube channel is going to be kind of about. It's just kind of me finding my own path right now. I think it's time that I've started my own thing, and that's kind of what I'm doing here with this podcast, with this YouTube channel that I'm starting. I really want to help people learn animation in a easier way, because there's a ton of gatekeeping in this industry. It was really hard to learn at first. Like, when I was growing up, YouTube was still pretty new. Like, I was in the Chocolate Rain era. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On kind of thing. Like, these like little YouTube videos that were just kind of cool. There wasn't like these massive resources that there are now, where you can just like go to Proco and just like learn how to draw, or go to Blender Guru and figure out how to make a donut. Like, those weren't available to me when I was in high school, and now I think everybody coming up has so much access to knowledge. Like, you don't have to go to college anymore, I don't think, to do this stuff. You can just sit on YouTube and just kind of learn it. And so I want to make your life easier. If you're someone who like wants to learn animation, like, this is the channel for you, hopefully. I'm going to be sharing my process in a couple different ways. I'm going to be putting these on YouTube quite unedited. It's going to be, just sped up, and I'm going to be doing commentary on it. And I think what this process is going to let me do is just like see what I'm doing and kind of give myself feedback. Like, this is almost more for me than for you guys. And then I'm hoping to just refine my process to the point where I can make a really solid course, like how to make a character and animate it in Blender, or like how to make an environment for animation. Like, I really want to have like a polished, edited, kind of AAA quality course that you guys can get from me to kind of learn what I've learned through working on all the productions that I've done in Blender. Before I worked on Mind the 3, we had this impromptu meeting with Netflix where we all gathered into the boardroom, and we got on a call, and James Baxter was on the other side. And this is the first time that I think I actually saw somebody animate for me. And James Baxter, like, one of the main characters in Mind the 3 is, his name is Chiappa. This is like Puma with gold skulls on him. He's super dope. What are you saying? Like, hey, I think there's a quadruped in your show, so let me show you how to animate a quadruped. So he just draws a tree. He's like, let's draw this cat jumping out of a tree. And so he just draws a tree, draws the panther, or the jaguar, or whatever, draws it on the ground. And like, he just animates this thing, like this, something that you'd think is pretty complex, and he just does it in like half an hour. And seeing him do that in a half hour It just made like a light bulb go off in my head because I was like, holy shit, I didn't think you could do that fast. I thought animation was a slow process thing, but once you understand what you're doing, it just gets a lot faster, it gets a lot easier. Animation is something that like I've always been very passionate about, and like every evening after I would come home from tangent animation, I would practice characters because that's always what I wanted to do. And like I've taught myself how to do characters, taught myself how to do some basic rigging, and like that's kind of where I'm moving more into now, is I think just kind of animation. But with that said, like I still love environments, I still love kind of making things, and so I think this is going to be very much like a variety channel where we just make different things, and like I kind of show you guys my processes. And yeah, so like as I do these speedruns, I'm really just trying to refine my process, trying to share it with you guys too, as my work's kind of been blowing up more recently. I've seen like a lot of people like want to know the process, they want to know the tutorials, and I love how the open source kind of model of Blender, and just like I love how the Blender community just very freely shares things. So I want to be more open with that. I want to share my processes with you guys, and so for now I'm just going to be focusing on like free content and then putting kind of rigs and stuff on Patreon. But I would love to build towards doing like a more a fuller paid course that's a lot more polished, and so I don't know when that will happen, but for now I'm going to be focusing on kind of free YouTube kind of content, and then hopefully once I get my processes more refined, that's when I'll make like a more up-paid course. I think that'll be like on a website or something. So yeah, that's kind of like my long-term kind of vision for the YouTube channel. I really want to get into drawing in Blender. I've been playing around with grease pencil for a couple of years now, and it's actually really fun to draw in. It's a really good 2D software, which didn't used to be. Like I've been using Blender for, as long as I've been in the industry, for about 10 years. Blender is where it's at, I think, in 2025. Like Flow just won the Oscar for Best Animated Production. An animation production for under 10 million is crazy. At least like in this kind of era, and I think a lot of that comes from like software costs. Like Maya's very expensive. Like if you're using Nuke, a license of Nuke could be like, it's like $4 or $5 grand. It's crazy how much this software costs. And if you use Blender, it's free. Like you don't have to pay anything. And so if you're an indie director, animation artist, you should really be learning Blender, because it can do literally everything that these crazy expensive softwares can cost, but it's not going to cost you a dime. And so I think if you're trying to cut costs and make something like an animated feature or something, I think Blender is your number one tool. Like this is your Swiss Army knife. It can do whatever it needs. You can do whatever you need to do with it. So in addition to my YouTube content, I'm also going to be starting a Patreon, and I have a lot of ideas for Patreon, but I think like right now, the main thing I'm going to be having on there is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I've just been working on. Total, I want to give credit to credit where it's due. Leak Island did all the designs for these turtles, and I saw them on the internet, just thought they were awesome. It's at Neil Egglet, I think is his Instagram. Amazing artist, great designer, really cool style, and I like he's got this great like kind of sketchy lines stuff, and that's kind of what I want to kind of move my own style towards, at least in animation, is like doing something that's kind of a hybrid between 3D and 2D, but having like a very sketchy look, like a sketchy ink pen almost, is what the feel I'm going for is. And so yeah, the turtles that I made, I've done really basic rigs on them. It's more like a layout rig to kind of just like play around with. You can pose them up, or do kind of basic animation. It's more like if you have action figures, it can do kind of what anything an action figure could do. There isn't a facial rig on it, or like any kind of complex deformations, but you should be able to kind of like, you can get a walk cycle going, you can do like a little bit of like, you can make them fight if you want to. Like, I'm really curious to see what you guys kind of do with the turtles, but those will all be available on my Patreon. And what I'm gonna do is like, I pretty consistently work on my own kind of side projects, and so the Patreon is just gonna be an outlet for me to kind of share that with you guys. So every month I'm gonna put out kind of the project that I'm working on, and then everything will only be available for a limited time. So I'm going to be releasing these turtles. They'll be available for this first month. After this month, they're going to be taken off my Patreon, and I'm going to be putting something new up. So really, if you like these rigs, grab them now. They're not going to be available forever. And that's going to be kind of the format that I'm going to be doing. I'm also going to have the shaders available that I used on the turtles as well. Yeah, just kind of anything that I kind of work on that I think that you guys might kind of want, I'm going to be putting on Patreon. And then obviously I'm also going to be showing the process there too, so if you want to try and just like make them yourself, then go for it. All the power to you. So yeah, that's going to be what I'm going to be doing on Patreon. I'm going to be doing podcasts I think on a monthly basis. I'm going to try and do one of these a month. I'm going to have guests on. This is the first kind of one that I'll be doing solo. Might do solo ones in the future, but I think kind of finding cool guests to have on, just kind of talk process on art is something that I'm really excited about. And so I have a couple ideas for people that I want to get on here. I've got quite a wide network of talented friends that I've accrued over the years that I think would be awesome just to kind of get down, chat on podcasts with. I think that'd be really fun. So stay tuned for more of these. Like, subscribe, smash that like button. Yeah, this is Jantzen Animation.